Namaste everyone. Om Vasudevasutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. In this webinar 202 on this Sunday, the 27th of June 2021, we have an interesting topic: the metaphor of fire in the Bhagavad Gita. This metaphor of fire is found in Upanishads and many other scriptures too. But we shall see how Lord Sri Krishna employs this metaphor to convey varieties of messages in his inspired discourse. Please do not think that fire is used to mean knowledge only, Jnanagni. That, of course, is a well-known illustration. But let me tell you right in the beginning, in the 18th chapter, Sri Krishna talks about any field of work having some problems. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamapi natyajet sarvarambhahi doshena dhumena agnihi iva avrataha, says the Lord in 18.48. Here, therefore, fire represents the karma that we take up and its shortcomings, some problems, some disadvantages, etc. associated with that work are like dhuma, smoke. Generally, people complain. Teachers wonder how wonderful it will be to be businessmen who earn more money apparently. Businessmen think how maybe lawyers, attorneys are having a good time. They may imagine cinema stars or sports stars are having a wonderful time, so on and so forth. But Sri Krishna says, no matter what work you take up in life, it will always have some problems. Just as fire typically has smoke around it. This fire is the upama and karma is the upameya. Upama or upamana, upameya, or fire is drishtanta, the illustration, and karma is the darshtantika, what is illustrated. Saying this, Sri Krishna urges us to take that action, that field of work, which is well aligned with our skills, our inclinations. The topic of Swadharma is one of the major topics of Bhagavad Gita. So find out what your Swadharma is, where you fit in the best, where work itself gives you a high degree of joy. The rewards do have a place, but for some reason, even if you don't get paid enough, even if you don't get recognized enough, suppose a certain work gives you happiness, then that's where you got to be, and don't look at some shortcomings of the work. We have in Mahabharata the instance of a grahini, a housewife, running the house, taking care of the family members with all devotion. She feels so much at home there, so much comfortable, or she feels she belongs there, and she gets some extraordinary powers. Then there is a Dharmavyadha who sells meat, but again doing work where he has for some reason a sense of belonging, some purva sanskara. makes him fit in there. Doing that work well and taking good care of his old parents and so on, Dharma Vyadha actually rises spiritually. Such examples are given. So in this webinar, we are going to see more than 10 different illustrations where fire represents something or the other. So one we have seen, that is where Sahajam Karma Kaunteya. The work that we do is fire, and certain undesirable aspects of any piece of work is like the smoke. The second one is the well-known illustration in chapter 3.3.38. We have in a single shloka, in fact, Sri Krishna gives 3 illustrations. Dhumen avriyate vannihi yathadarsho malena cha yatholben avruto garbhas tatha tenedam avrutam. We will take the first illustration only. Spiritual wisdom, a certain intuitive grasp of how we are Satchidananda Atma, we are pure consciousness. We are not this body which is constantly changing, not even the mind, that also is changing. We are something dwelling inside all this. That knowledge, Sri Krishna says, is in everyone, but just as fire is covered by smoke, this knowledge gets covered by our own selfish desires, ill-conceived intentions, ambition, aspirations. We are clouded by some fancies. Aviveka. In Vedanta, we repeatedly say, in Aviveka, this Jiva Bhava flourishes. When there is Viveka, the Jiva Bhava takes to its heels and Atma Bhava gets stronger. In the same shloka, Sri Krishna says, just as how the surface of a mirror is covered by dust, how an embryo is covered by the womb of the mother, like that, Jnana is covered by this Kama. But of interest to us presently is the connection between fire and Jnana, not mirror or not the embryo. Fire represents the Jnana and Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, etc. represent the smoke. By satsanga, by spiritual exercises, above all by being very keen, very earnest, by making our aspiration strong, we will be able to chase away the smoke and make the fire burn brightly. Could be covered by a layer of dust, just as the growing embryo is covered by the womb of the mother. Like that, spiritual understanding is covered by Kama. So Jnanam is fire and Kama. Kama means many other things associated with Kama. Even Bhayam, fear also is one of the aspects of that smoke. Dhumena Agnihi Avriyate. So here we have a second illustration. A third time in chapter 6, in another well-known shloka, Sri Krishna says, the mind of a yogi is like fire. To be more specific, it is like a flame, a steady flame in a windless spot. Yatha dipo nivatas sa upama smrita yogino yatha chittasya yunjato yogam atmana. This is also a metaphor, or call it upama. In Sanskrit literature, praise Kalidas above all for coming out with unbelievable upamas, that is, illustrations. Upama Kalidasasya, I guess, Bharave Arthagauravam, and another quality. The shloka ends, Maghe Santi Trayogunaha. Some poet called Magha has all this. Upama and Arthagaurava and Padalalitya, all of them. Leave them aside. I too am not much familiar with Sanskrit literature as such. My knowledge of Sanskrit also is so much to do with scriptures, Vedanta, Gita, Upanishad, a little Ramayana and so on. If you ask me about Kalidasa or Bhavabhuti, I will get confused. Other day in my last Mundaka Upanishad class, I said Kalidasa says beautifully, Namo Vakam Prashasmahe. After the lecture was over, I was trembling already. I looked up Swami Gugulananda to see whether it is Kalidasa only who made that beautiful expression. Rather than saying Namamaha, there is an expression, Namo Vakam Prashasmahe. Very pretty expression. And to my displeasure, I found that I was wrong in saying Kalidasa says Namo Vakam Prashasmahe. It is Bhavabhuti, whom I have not studied at all. Kalidasa I have studied a little here and there. Bhavabhuti says right in the Mangala Shloka in the beginning of his great work, and that work is Uttara Ramacharita. Sri Rama's life in the Uttarakhanda. Uttara Ramacharitam is by Bhavabhuti, not by Kalidasa. Upama Kalidasasya Bharaver Artha Gauravam is a famous shloka Sanskrit scholars quote. At my convenience, I move in or out of this camp of Sanskrit scholars. Sometimes I say I am a Sanskrit scholar. But if the bar is raised, I quietly leave the camp. I don't know so much of Sanskrit literature as such. So, Yoginaha Yatachittasya, his mind is like that steady flame, so steady, undisturbed, neither memories of the past nor some worries about the future disturb the yogi, who also, like you and me, may have many responsibilities. Till our last breath, we will have some concerns, some responsibilities, certain things we wish to do for our own sake or for the sake of our near and dear ones. That list never gets emptied or finished. But if we are good yogis, if we are a bit more regular in our exercises, our meditation, satsanga, and so on, amidst all those problems which are in our life, we will be able to, at least here and there, enjoy such peace of mind as though we have no problem whatsoever in life. Anyway, without giving a long commentary, yet another illustration of Agni going by Vedic norms is where Agni fire represents the Nitya karma of people adoring and following Vedic way of life. Nitya karma. Because in Nitya karmas, Agnihotra and so on, fire has to be used. Therefore, the mention of fire right away implies various karmas, various Vedic rituals. In modern times, you and I have simplified things partly because of our ignorance of what Vedas expect us to do, partly because of our own inability, incapacity to integrate all those into our life. Some of us may do a little puja, some of us do some Gayatri Japa, some of us just light one agarbatti and chant two shlokas and leave. But even that agarbatti is a fire, the tip of the agarbatti, incense has fire. Anyway, going back, the traditional setting requires brahmacharis, grahasthas, and vanaprasthas, the three of them, to light up the sacrificial fire and perform some rituals. The sannyasis are exempted from those karmas. Therefore, there is a popular notion or a definition. Who is a sannyasi? A sannyasi is one who doesn't do those karmas. In the very first shloka of chapter 6, Sri Krishna, a revolutionary of his time indeed, dismisses that narrow definition. Just by avoiding karmas, one doesn't become a sannyasi. Just to, like today we may say, by wearing orange robes or by shaving one's hair or some other external marks, one doesn't become sannyasi. With due respect to all those customs, Sri Krishna says, above all, if you have no dependence on success or failure, karma phala, anashrita karma karyam karma karoti yaha sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragni na cha akriyaha. Agni means rituals. By simply not doing rituals, or somebody says, I never married, and with chest up. Now, technically, just because you did not marry, you do not become spiritually advanced. And those who are married, just because they married and had children, do not lag behind. It is to be looked at in right context. It has some place maybe, but it cannot be overstretched. So that is the significance of 6.1. Na niragnihi. The word Agni is used, the metaphor of fire. What it means is, Niragni means one who has quit their daily rituals involving fire. Then you have the best example of fire used as a metaphor is in chapter 4 at two places, 4.19 and 4.37. It is said, Jnanagni dagda karmanam. A long compound. Jnana, that is an intuitive understanding of, hey, I am not this personality at all. The success and failure, the loss and gain, the disrespect which I meet with at places, and the honor and felicitation I meet at other places, do not really affect me, because the real I is above this personality. If there is such an intuitive grasp, that is jnanam. And the Gita says in 4.19, there are some in whose case the fire of such knowledge burns away all their karma and karma phalas. We, in our ignorance, do not suffer so much for what is happening now, but our mind, which is like a machine, goes on reminding us, in 2015, I should not have invested in such and such company. In 2013, I should not have walked away from a friendship which would have been very helpful to me now, but I closed that chapter. So, memories of the past. That is the expression of our past karma. All of us have done mistakes, but those who are unable to forget and forgive suffer. Now the shloka says, Jnana Agni Dagda Karma. When there is increased understanding, enhanced and more clear understanding of the pure self, even if you remember the wrongs or the mistakes you had committed, they just float by like clouds passing in the sky. He whose karma and karma phala are burnt by the fire of knowledge. Then 4.37 3:7 also uses. That's a very famous expression, and at places it is put in schools and colleges, etc. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitrameha vidyate, and such shlokas. But what I am especially quoting is, oh, I'm looking at chapter 3, chapter 4, I have to see. 4.36. 4.36 says, even if you are one of the worst sinners on this earth, by divine grace, thanks to some satsangs you do, if the fire of right knowledge rises in you, api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamaha sarvam jnanaplavenaivo. That is 36. There the jnana is compared with a boat. The next one, 37. It is said, just as fire burns away pieces of wood, edhamsi, wood is burnt by fire, like that jnanagnihi sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निर्भस्मसात् कुरुते अर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा is the powerful expression. With all these wonderful metaphors, I am covering only the shlokas where Agni comes into picture. By mistake, I made a reference to Jnana Plava, the boat of right knowledge. But my topic is the fire of right knowledge, or fire representing other things. Because of all these beautiful illustrations, Bhagavad Gita is studied even as a piece of literature. People having no faith or regard for the philosophy thereof, or for Lord Sri Krishna, or for Veda Vyasa, doesn't matter. They study the Gita for the literary dimensions. What meters are used, what illustrations are used, what other alankaras of literature are used. Now, to say once more that it's not always knowledge that fire represents in the Gita, let me go to a very unusual setting. In chapter 11, that is Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, it is said, just as moth, those insects, rush towards fire and die falling into fire, so all living beings are rushing towards me, entering me. You have, as you know, chapter 11 is anyhow very poetic. Therefore, lots of verses in chapter 11 are in Trishtup meter, because Anushtup may not have the space. Anushtup, which is a shorter meter, may not have the scope for conveying powerful illustrations. In chapter 11, using Trishtup, 11 syllables per quarter, as compared with only 8 syllables per quarter of Anushtup, we have Yatha Pradiptam Jwalanam Patangaha Vishanti Nashaya Samruddha Vegaha Tata Eva Nashaya Vishanti Lokaha Tavapi Vaktrani Samruddha Vegaha. Arjuna addresses Sri Krishna and says, I see your cosmic form and I see everybody, all living beings entering your Vaktrani, your mouths. There are many faces with many mouths. All of them are meeting with their death. They are winding up this particular life of theirs. So, quite a frightening illustration, but then it is fire that is used as the metaphor. Fire and moth and the Vishwarupa and all living beings. But not taking it as very negative or frightening, we may also look at it in a positive way. All of us have come from God and we go back to God. We emerge from God and we merge back to God. For that matter, in Mundaka Upanishad, you have that terrific illustration. Yatha vispulingaha pavakat sahasrashaha prabhavante. From a well-lit fire, countless sparks rise, dance in air for a little while and fall back into fire. So too, countless living beings come from Brahma and return to Brahma. And for those who have the eye of wisdom, everyone is never away from Brahma. Even during the so-called individual life, that individuality is a falsehood. That is higher Vedanta. Now, before concluding this list of illustrations through the length of Bhagavad Gita, I wish to say that in chapter 4, in a set of consecutive verses, 10 to 12 illustrations are given where every one of them has fire as a component. I am referring to the many kinds of yajnas described in chapter 4. Starting from the famous shloka 24, many of you know by heart. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. As per Adi Shankara's commentary, that shloka Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi is a magnificent illustration of a yajna, not the physical yajna where some samagri, some material is offered into physical fire, but it is the highest yajna where the fire is no less than or no other than samyak darshana, right seeing. If you see rightly that the entire universe, including you, is only Brahman. Brahman is the giver, Brahman is the taker. Brahman is the batsman, Brahman is the bowler, Brahman is the umpire, Brahman is the fielder, Brahman is the audience too, and the wicket and the land on which cricket is played. Everything is Brahman. It's a vision. It is called Samyak Darshana. And that is Samyak Darshana Yajna. And the very next shloka, Daivame Vapare Yajnam Yogina Paryupasate, takes us to the other extreme, where fire is literally fire, no illustration there. That yajna also has a place in the scheme of things. You light up a fire literally, and actually you offer ghee or a ball of rice. Actually you chant some mantras. Now in this digital age, many of you must have received that little video clip. Some kind of modern havan, fire sacrifice has come, where the priest answering your booking in an internet site comes to your house with some kind of, it looks like a big induction cooker or something, and he touches a button and there is no fire, no smoke really, but a three-dimensional holographic fire appears over there. And everything is by press this button, press that button. Very humorous. Couple of days back, it came to me after a long gap of 2 years or so. It had come before. But again, that video came to me in some media. The priest says to the family members, now you have a choice. You want to put rice ball, press this button. If you want to put ghee into the fire, press this button. And the young NRIs shown there are very happy because they have uprooted themselves from India. They have not integrated themselves into the Western culture. Trishanku Swarga. They are neither here nor there. How are we to perform this yajna now, havana, on some occasion? And then this priest is made for them. He says, no problem. Because there is a fear in homes in America, Canada, etc. A little smoke, some fire alarm will go up and the whole place, all neighbors will come running. What is happening in your house? So they prefer no smoke. Everything is, you press this button, you press that button. Very humorous. to give one last aspect of it, the priest says, well, now you have a choice. You press this button. 4 priests in India sitting in Bangalore will be reciting mantras for this particular ritual. But if you don't press that button, I myself will chant those mantras. And he says charges are different. I don't know which one is higher, which one is lower. So that is all. I do not know whether Jaimini Sutras or any other scriptures approve this kind of digital virtual havan performed in your homes with not a single real spark of fire lit or kindled. Anyway, we have Daiva Yajna, literal Yajna. Then Samyak Darshana Yajna, where it is Brahma Jnana is a Yajna. In between, take a look at those verses from 24 to 30 of chapter 4. In 7 verses, Sri Krishna says, if you do dana, that is also a yajna. If you do pranayama, that is also a yajna. Dravya yajna, stapo yajna, yoga yajna, statapare, swadhyaya jnana yajnascha, yataya samshita vrataha, evam bahuvidaha yajnaha, vitataha brahmano vedasya, and so on. So many yajnas. And mind you, whenever he says yajna, if not literally, symbolically, there has to be fire. There is no yajna without a fire. So in dana, fire, your broad-mindedness to share your wealth with the needy is the fire. And your attachment to, no, all that is mine, my hard-earned money, I won't give to anybody, is the samagri, the ghee or rice ball. That attachment to my wealth, my money, my house, my clothes is offered into the fire of Vishala Manobhava. Even in pranayama, when you take a deep breath, you can imagine inside you there is fire, and the air that you breathe in is the offering. Or when you are doing rechaka, breathing out, fire is outside, and whatever air you had in your chest, you take out and as though pour into the fire outside. Lord Krishna says this. Apane juhvati. Juhvati means offering into fire, homa. Apane juhvati pranam, prane apanam tathapare, pranayama parayanaha, etc. So, take a look at those verses. Many spiritual practices are compared with a fire sacrifice. In summary, all of those 10 to 12 yajnas mentioned there are basically something lower is offered and burnt in the altar of the higher. If the interests of a village are sacrificed for the good of the whole country, that is a yajna. The lower is offered in the fire of the higher. And let me conclude, perhaps I would have missed 1 or 2 also, but in the list I have made, the last one that I share with you is how even the path that a soul takes after its clinical death is described by the word Agni. In the Vedic wisdom, those of us who have earned a lot of merit, not enlightened, but earned a lot of merit, our ego is not totally destroyed, but we have earned a lot of merit by doing good work. We go by a path called the northern path, Uttarayana. It takes us to a very high region, and eventually from there itself we get liberated. Krama Mukti. And those of us who have done much less of merit, earned much less punya, also go to heaven, because where there is punya, you have some days, some months, like timeshare. You will have some timeshare in the heaven. But after that is over, you come back. And those who have done more papam may hardly visit the heaven. They may go to the lower regions called hell, etc. So there is a certain imagery. Take it symbolically or take it literally or make a middle path, that's up to you. But the question is, where does fire as a metaphor come into the picture? If you see 8th chapter, Ashtama Adhyaya, 24th shloka, Chaturvimshatitamaha shlokaha. It is said, Agnihi Jyotihi Ahaha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam. Agnir Jyotiraha Shuklaha Shanmaka Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti. Something like that. Let me read that for you. 8:24. Yes. There are two paths by which a soul can go. Agnir Jyotiraha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Vido Janaha. They go to Brahma Loka, which is not liberation yet, but eventually they are liberated. So the first word used for that northern path is Agni. Not that the souls are put into fire literally, but it's the label. Just as today in science, technology, everywhere, we give a name. First, when I heard many years ago, Bluetooth, I was so confused. Tooth, I know the teeth are white generally, and this device, they say, has a Bluetooth. So I thought we have to open and see where the Bluetooth is. Then somebody in San Jose told me, it's a name given to a protocol. So communication protocol. I had some idea of this information technology. How it's just some particular wavelength of electromagnetic waves can be message. Now Bluetooth is so prevalent everywhere. I think people with no technical background also know Bluetooth. So Bluetooth is a name given by some company. It's a branding. There is no tooth or nothing blue about it. Likewise, Agnihi, fire, with some symbolism that's about it. Because in comparison with that, the second path where they come back, the souls with less merit, in place of Agni, the word is Dhumaha, smoke. If you see 25 of chapter 8, Dhumo Ratrihi Tata Krishnaha Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandramasam Jyotihi Yogi Prapya Nivartate. Before long, this guy, this lady is back on the earth in a reincarnation. Fascinating concepts of this Veda or Bhagavad Gita, but our special interest is how Agni, fire, has been used to represent the path by which they don't return, they get eventual liberation. In this way, friends, the metaphor of Agni is spread across the Gita, probably in some 15, 16 places. So are some other illustrations too. Maybe not as many as Agni, but where Vayu is an example, where Akasha, space, is an example, where may be a river, where may be a hill, and so on. Though not found in any Upanishad or Gita, in Advaita Vedanta literature otherwise, rope and snake everywhere is found. Without mentioning rope and snake, no Advaita Vedanta lecture is completed. Therefore, I made it an excuse somehow to mention rope and snake in this talk, which is otherwise on Agni. So rope is the truth, snake is what it falsely appears as. The outer truth and the inner truth. About you yourself, there is a rope and a snake. What you really are and how you see yourself. But about the world around also, what it is actually, that is Brahman, but how it seems, how it appears, what it looks like is the snake part of it. So just as countless illustrations are found in different philosophical disciplines, we have this Agni, Yatha and Tatha, just as, and so too is how. Some places it is Yadvat and Tadvat, sometimes without even mentioning that pair of words, just using Iva. Iva means like. The metaphors or illustrations are employed to communicate with certain force, to bring home some logic that is inside a particular philosophical concept. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, please do not hesitate to ask a question, whether it will be a question with fire in it or more smoke in it, doesn't matter. Please do ask a question.
Swamiji,
Yes. Ravi Prakash.
Swamiji, this one of the most important example is given in the 15th chapter. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashitaha. That Vaishwanara.
I missed it. You are right. I'm going to add to my list. Vaishwanara. Yeah. Vaishwanara is fire. Aham Vaishwan. So the fire that is responsible for digestion. Thank you for pointing that out. In Kathopanishad, not Gita, when Yama returns after 3 days of absence, his staff, family and others tell him, a pious Brahmin boy has been waiting for you, and people of such merit or such purity, when they come to your house, they are like fire. Vaishwanaraha atitir pravishati grihe. There's a mantra. If you don't treat him well, he can curse also. Be careful. Then he takes such good care, offers the boy 3 boons, rest of it is well-known story. So there also the word Vaishwanara comes. And Chandrarka Vaishwanara. Shiva's 3 eyes are compared with. One eye is Chandra, second is Surya, the third eye is fire. So you are right. Vaishwanara is that 15th chapter is a very valid example. I will add it next time we discuss these things.
Swami, there are some chat questions.
In the text chat box, okay. Rekha Ramani. How can we practice daily surrender in the midst of our daily busy domestic lives so that we can get closer and closer to God? Very practical question. All of us, including the speaker, has this as a challenge. You may think that Swamiji perhaps has, this is a very peaceful life. No, we have our own, lectures and preparing and newsletters and writing, and we also promise in haste and repent at leisure. Somebody wants to interview us, somebody wants us to edit some article written by her. So before long, like any of you, we find so many things on our desk. Then a busy domestic life. So all of us have this. So how do we practice daily surrender? What I would say is never completely abandon any practice. Do even for 10 minutes. Do for 8 minutes in the morning, in the evening. Because it is, Gurudev Chinmayananda used to say, it is the quality and not the quantity that matters. It is the depth and not the length of time that matters. And all of us can see the truth of it. Even take, for example, yoga asana. Other day I was having some deadlines and very heavy. I thought of skipping my yoga asana. Then I said, wait a minute. I'll go up the terrace and just do only for 10 minutes. Just some 6 Surya Namaskars and 1 or 2 simple pranayams in the sunlight, vitamin D. Came back. I patted myself on my back. Wow. See that 10 minutes, my mind was resisting. No, I think today I will skip and so on. So you and I are in the same boat. Define 2 or 3 spiritual practices and don't miss them. And as Eknath Ishwaran says, if one among those 2 or 3 you can try to do at the same time daily. He especially talks about meditation. Eknath Ishwaran, who lived, as you know, near Petaluma. So that teacher at that time said, if you can practice meditation at the same time, evening 6 o'clock, you find that is convenient to you. Whatever is the pressure, at 6 p.m., sit and meditate, even for 5 minutes. Then get back to anything you are doing. He's right, I agree with him. It gives us an additional benefit of better control over ourselves. Because we many times find we have no control on our own, life. We lack self-control. Ishwaran uses the word willpower. It will increase your willpower if you do meditation at the same time every day. Willpower is an aspect of self-control. Therefore, start small, keep going in that small way, and at the right time, things will fall in place and God will empower you to do more and then get more benefit also. Okay, so here I will now go more quickly with these questions. Digital Haven, interesting idea and humorous too. Yeah, I don't know whether it has really come, but that video was very interesting. Chandrasekhar, eager to meet in person. Yeah, Bangalore visit. Then Ullas iPad. Rope and snake is also an interesting metaphor. Yeah, rope and snake. We don't have it in any of the original scriptures, but Shankara Bhashya and various Advaita Prakaranas. Therefore, other schools of Vedanta sometimes question that rope and snake. That let it be. Can you please repeat 3.38? So 3.38 is, that is the most famous shloka. Dhume navriyate vannihi yathadarsho malena cha yatholbe navrato garbha tatha teneda mavratam is the shloka. Then Galaxy M30 says, in simple pattern, what Agni mantras can we recite every day? Oh, I do not remember. I had performed it for 1 or 2 years long back. There is something called Agni Karya. People do immediately after Sandhya Vandana. They actually bring Samit. When I was about 16-year-old, there was a grandmother-like person in our home. She was not really related to us, but she was in our house. She would walk some 5 minutes to an Ashwattha Vriksha, cut some twigs of that Ashwattha and give to me. Okay, you are doing Agni Karya. Take this. And she was thus helping me. I did for about 2 years. But I have forgotten. Just ask any priest. Because those priests who can tell you Sandhya Vandana mantras can also tell you Agni Karya mantras. And one mantra is the one that ends in Havyavahana. Shraddha Medam Yasha Prajnam Vidyam Buddhim Shriyam Balam Ayushyam. Something like, Dehi Me Havyavahana. There is one mantra, very famous mantra. Even Google will give you that. Just write Shraddham Medam Yasha Prajnam. Rest of it Google will give. Right. Hari Om, Hari Om. How do we understand aura? Yeah, I believe in aura. Aura is an invisible energy spread around the whole body actually, but especially around the head. And I believe some yogis will be able to see it without even any instrument. But I believe there are some instruments also which can, it's called Kirlian photography or Kirlian cameras. They can see. But my limited knowledge of aura is a subtle expression of the spiritual growth of you. I call it subtle because naked eyes cannot see that aura, Prabhavali, and so on. So there are lots of material on this aura, also called halo, H-A-L-O. So a halo around everybody, even around the hand, there is a halo. And there are claims in the related science that if somebody is going to die, let us say next 5 days or 10 days, the halo around his hands, his fingers will show that this fellow doesn't have many days left. So there is a science of deciphering, decoding the halo patterns. This much I have read with interest at one time, but nowadays not into that field. That's about it, I think.
Yes,
Glad to see so many of you taking interest and responding. We'll meet again another Sunday, if not next Sunday, after that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good night to all in India. Have a
Hari Om,
nice day.
Swamiji.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Pranam Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Pranam
Hari Om,
Swami.
Swamiji.
Wishing good day to people in the West.
Hari Om,
Good
Swamiji.
night to
Pranam.
people in the East. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
Namaskar, Swamiji.
Ah.